Hi, this is Tom Myers from the Barrymore Film Center. I am not in this still. You are looking at a still. I am off camera. This is one of the most famous stills from any film or frame grab from any film produced in the borough of Fort Lee. And this is from the 1912 D.W Griffith Biograph film, Musketeers of Pig Alley. This was one of the first popular gangster films ever produced in America. And this scene was shot on Main Street opposite Jerome Avenue. For decades, it was thought it was shot on the Lower East Side, but this frame grab of Lillian Gish dates to 1912 on the streets of Fort Lee, Main Street, Fort Lee, New Jersey. Griffith shot many, many films in this specific area, and a group of British archivists did a frame-by-frame analysis several years ago of all of Griffith's films shot in Fort Lee, and they matched this to other similar films he shot in that same location. A great film, in addition to being Lillian Gish's one of our first films, and she started with Griffith. This film also stars a very young gentleman who originally came from the Bronx, but is known as a Western star thanks to John Ford, and that's Harry Carey Sr. He plays the henchman to the main gangster, who's Elmer Booth. Elmer Booth, when you see him, he is so reminiscent of James Cagney, and this was 20 years, a little more than 20 years before Cagney would make The Public Enemy, which would catapult him to stardom out in Warner Brothers and make him a gangster star of gangster stars. This film was influential on a lot of filmmakers, including Martin Scorsese, who specifically shot sections of the end of Goodfellas in Fort Lee, New Jersey. That film dates to 1990. Those scenes could have been captured in Queens. 90% of the film was shot in New York City, if not more. He came to Fort Lee because Griffith shot the first popular gangster film here, and he wanted to have a tip of the hat to Griffith. So that was Scorsese's take on the Musketeers of Pig Alley, and I totally agree with him. And this is a really good film. It stands up. I think you'll really enjoy Elmer Booth's performance. The sad thing, a few years later, Booth was killed, I believe, in a traffic accident out in California. He had a lot of charisma, very reminiscent of James Cagney, about 20 years before Cagney became famous on the silver screen. So enjoy this film. I hope you get a new perspective of the type of films they were making in Fort Lee back in the day. And this is a film shot on location in Fort Lee in 1912, directed by D.W Griffith for the Biograph Company, starring Lillian Gish, Elmer Booth, and Harry Carey Sr., The Musketeers of Pig Alley.